So no matter what I title this video, just know that this is in fact a figure haul, the first figure haul of 2024. Kinda, because I did do the Bai video, and I did unbox some stuff in that. A lot of the figures that I mentioned in my pre-orders video ended up shipping like 3 days after it went live, just great timing indeed. But besides that, I need to let you in on how stupid I am, so that should be fun. But for now, before we get there, let's start this off by talking about some Nendoroids. We're gonna start off with the Needy Streamer Overload figure of K-Angel, or I guess since they did not rebrand this, the Needy Girl Overdose Nendoroid. Now, unlike every other time I've talked about Nendos, today, to save myself some time, and I also just hate this part in these videos, I've actually unboxed them beforehand, so now I don't actually have to unbox them on camera, which is great. So I already have her right here, all good to go. But man, before we talk about this, let me just say this box design is mint. It has a iridescent shine to it. It's really well done, just a wonderful presentation. So, have I ever talked about what this game is like actually about? It's insanely popular at this point, but for those who don't know, you essentially play the role of a manager for a girl who wants to become a streamer and hit her goal of like 1 million subs. You kind of just tell her how to run the channel and what to do, but you have a lot of control to the point where the game can twist and turn and spiral out of control into places you might not have expected, and I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, the main character, Ame-chan, this is her streamer persona. She transforms into OMG Kawaii Angel when going live with what she has decided is peak viewer bait. Personally, I think Ame-chan looks better when she's offline, but if you've never really heard of this series before, maybe only seen it a couple of times, then I do think this like pastel, bubbly, cutesy look is definitely more eye-catching. And you know what? This Nendoroid does a pretty damn good job of representing the series as a whole. Adorable on the surface, but upon closer inspection kind of shines a light on the damaged mindset K-Angel develops throughout the story. For instance, she comes with 2 very cute and playful faceplates, oh how precious she looks, but then there's also one where she's gone crazy and her eyes shrink to show distress. A red cell phone with rabbit ears to match her adorable persona, but also a spewing of colorful vomits. Perhaps she is sick, or perhaps it's thanks to the pills you receive as a pre-order bonus from the Good Smile store. Who could say for sure, but just to drive the point home, you also get a portrait of her former self in the style of a funeral photo. How morbid. As far as the paint apps, it's extremely good. Her blonde hair gradates into a purple hue, the ribbons are all painted in pearlescence, and the trim of her skirt features metallic silver. The eye decals are nice and sharp with pinkish red eyeliner, and man, the Helix twin tails are superbly sculpted. They're the standout of her design for sure, and make her quite wide as a result. I've heard they're very fragile though, so try not to damage them. As a scale figure collector primarily, I've like heavily cut back on buying Nendoroids, but somehow this is my favorite K-Angel figure released so far, and I'm very happy that I picked it up. However, now that we have a new Ame-chan scale on the way that I really want, and 2 more K-Angel figures announced, I feel like I'm going to be collecting for this series for at least a little bit longer. So we'll see what the future holds. The other Nendoroid I picked up was Nira-chan from Zutomayo. Now this doesn't really seem like a very popular release. I haven't heard many people talk about it or unbox it themselves, but to me, this is a very cool use of the Nendoroid line. Box isn't that much comparatively though, purple and black with some scan lines. It is fitting though, so I guess no complaints. I actually unboxed this one like a few weeks ago. I made a community post about it too. I was just very excited to see how this turned out. So Zutomayo is a J-pop band. If you listen to Japanese music, you've probably heard of one of their songs before. Just tends to happen as you explore different bands outside of anime OPs and whatnot. Though they did sing a song for Chainsaw Man's ending. I think it was ending 2. But I might be misremembering that because there's so many. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm well versed on the band, I just like their music, and Nira-chan is a bit of a face for the band. I think the way it works is that there are multiple different Nira-chan designs as different artists work on different videos. Go look up the song Study Me, which prominently features this Nira in an animated music video. It's a good starting point too if you want to just like hear any of their stuff. What I liked about this Nendoroid from the get-go was their commitment to stylizing her in a very similar fashion to the music video's art style, which means they made her hands and shoes like freaking massive. Even the way they painted her is very faithful. They used a bunch of solid, vibrant colors for her clothing, the accessories like her earrings, and even the inside of her hair, which is a very bright pink. Now, you really aren't getting too much with this package, but it's one of those deals where you can use almost everything at once to great effect. Faceplates cap off at just 2, but both are very fitting. Her first is one with a listless expression, basically lacking much energy. The other has her tongue sticking out, which in combination with these hand parts give her a really cute pose. Probably what I'm going to be going with. Also, I just really like how both of them show off her eyeliner, which just brings a bit more color to her face. Accessories you pretty much only get 2 as well, her hats, so you can complete the outfit. I just love the simple fashion here. And then her porcupine friend, whose name I believe is Uniguri, looking all dapper with that bow tie. Kind of makes me think of classic Sonic for some reason, like not Sonic himself, but the animal buddies you could find within the first game. But yeah, he's cool. In a few of the promotional photos, they displayed Nero with this background sheet, but that's just the box tray, so I don't really count that as anything. It is another reference to Study Me though, so there's that. And then if you pre-ordered her through the Good Smile store, you'll get a Zutomayo card, which for the longest time, I thought this was just a random add-on because they couldn't think of anything else. But no, there is in fact a Zutomayo card game, so this might actually have some use. Is this a good card? I couldn't tell you, but hey, I got one now. I swear, like everything has a card game in Japan these days. It kind of reminds me of the 90s, where the exact same thing happened here. I guess card games are just like eternal. They're always going to be popular and they're always going to be made. Limited in some aspects, but makes up for it with style. Has a slight designer vibe to it too, that lets Nero-chan stand out among the 1,000 of other Nendo releases. And it's just nice to see Good Smile Company make figures for bands. Well, I guess they also made like Linkin Park figures before. That was a certified moments in history, but something's telling me that Nero-chan fits the figure form just a little bit better. A little bit. Alright, so I made you guys wait long enough. Let's talk about the main point of this video. Though afterwards, I do have 2 very nice figures to unbox, so stay tuned for that. However, I do need to grab something on the desk to start the story. This is going to be a little bit of a story time thing. So, some of you guys might know this figure. It's very popular. This is the Tohovania Remelia Scarlet. Hold on, she's actually a little dusty. You should buy one of these, by the way. It's like a little lens cleaner, but I found it to be very useful for cleaning delicate figures. You just blow the dust off if it's not like too caked on. You wouldn't want to break anything. That would be tragic. So, a year or 2 ago, I made a video on this figure alongside 2 more. And in that video, I quickly found out that this was one of my favorite figures. Now, don't go back and watch that video. It's not great. I'm just setting the scene here. Something you do need to know though, is that back in the day, before I got a desk and the desk back there, I used to film on like this little TV tray, but what I would do is I would put this honking gigantic piece of wood on top of it, so it looked like I had a desk. It was like very thrifty of me, but it was such a heavy piece of wood. It was literally a part of a table, like a kitchen table. So I just like took it off, put it on that thing, but it was so goddamn heavy that I couldn't leave stuff on it. So when I got done filming that video, I had to put the figures around my room. And this one ended up on my desk. This is such a stupid story. Anyway, later that night, literally the same night, I get on Discord, hanging out with the boys. We start playing some games. I think it's Fightcade. It might have been Splatoon 3. It was around that time when I finally bought that game. It doesn't matter. One of those games, right? And in a Discord call, you know, things can get rowdy, right? If you're hanging out with the right friends. You just start yelling at each other, just start making jokes and shit like that. And you've seen me make videos. I'm always flailing my arms all over the place. That's just how I talk. I can't break that habit. I'm trying. But even in this video, it's been going on throughout the entire thing. So I'm having a grand old time playing Fightcade with the fellas or whatever. But long story short, my spatial awareness was just like at 0 at this point. And at some point, I just like raise my arms, right? And this figure is very wide. You can see it over here with the wings and the spear, and I just completely snapped the spear in half by raising my hands. And I'm like, oh my God, I just made a video about this goddamn figure and I broke it. Now, it was a very clean snap, right? And it was just the spear, but when I applied glue to it, there was just like a little bit too much, and the glue actually like stripped some of the paint. It's also a little bit rough because there's too much glue on the outside instead of just on the break. So yeah, I was very upset about this because I just opened it, and also this figure is just like immaculate to me. We all break our figures from time to time. It just happens. It sucks. And normally I just glue it or I forget about it. It's not really worth buying a whole new figure again. But when you really like one of them, I feel like it's very easy to get persuaded into buying it again. Now, I don't know if anybody would agree with me on that, but that's what we're here to talk about today. Because I did indeed buy this figure again. Now, is this too much? Am I stupid for doing this? You let me know. This figure I got for such a ridiculous deal. It was $80 before shipping, $100 after, which is like the lowest I've seen this ever. And it's not broken or anything. I don't see anything wrong with this figure. I did inspect it earlier, like a couple of weeks ago when I got this. Actually, I think at this point, it's been like 2 months, but I was busy with other videos, so I never got a chance to talk about this. Also, I got the tapestry. They just gave me the tapestry with this figure, which is like an exclusive bonus you got back when this figure first went up for pre-order. So now I have that. I never had that before. That's kind of neat. But yeah, I feel like $100 to fix one small problem might be a little too much. Obviously, I'm not going to keep both of them, but I don't really know what to do with the other. I mean, obviously the smartest thing to do would be to just sell it, let people know it's damaged, and then give them a really good deal. But I don't really know how to price this now that it is damaged, so I'll figure that out eventually. Not gonna unbox this because there's literally no point. I'll take, new photos of this one, I guess, but just to show you that this is in the box, and I do have two now. There you go, because this has a nice window on it, which I've always really liked about this figure. But yeah, have you damaged figures before? And if you have you ever tried to replace them? Let me know. I think this is an interesting topic that people don't really want to talk about because they have to own up to the fact that they damaged their like $100 to $300 figure, and that's never a good feeling. But yeah, this is my situation right now. Hopefully you found that somewhat humorous. Now yeah, that was a lot of yapping, but really I set this up to segue into our next figure, the next in the Toho Vania line, and I'm gonna go grab it right now. Just gonna move this guy. I should probably move her too. Don't wanna break her again. All right, we good. Here we have Reimu. If you've ever been upset about a figure taking too long to come out, just remember that this figure was first revealed 7 years ago. Yeah, wasn't fun. Eventually you'd think I'd stop giving a shit, but no, I needed my Reimu fix, so here we are. Nice of them to keep up with tradition though with this box design, only the most sophisticated for the Toho girls. They also kept the magnet box, if I can get it open, which looks real cool. I'm just gonna stand up for this. Man, she is a lot lighter than I was expecting. Really not much though in terms of assembly, so that's great. Now Reimu here was around 25,000 yen retail, which nobody was happy about considering Remelia was roughly 10,000 yen less back in 2018, and I'm sure sales suffered because of it. Toho figures don't really come cheap, but last time I checked, she's still in stock, so not really sure how well that's working out for them. Thankfully, this figure was delivered at such high quality that I don't really care. In fact, part of me believes that this is the best figure in the line so far, which is ridiculous considering how highly I regard Remelia's figure. The only downside is her size, which remains at the 1/8 scale, but literally everything else is just peak. So you want to know what I like most about Reimu here? It's actually her expression. Her smile is just gone. Her eyes are sharp and cold. She's got an angry but determined look that tells you that she is just done taking shit. I also love the fact that her eyelashes are lined in red just to make them pop a little bit more. On top of that, her hair sculpt is just crazy. Her hairstyle doesn't really stay consistent throughout the many designs or even figures of her, but here it's tied up in a fairly long ponytail. Has a nice flow to it too. I never really noticed how much they shrunk down her bow tie till now, but I think it's fun how they stuck with tradition by including it, but reduced its presence to lower the cuteness. But it's still kind of cute that she keeps it. Anyway, there are tons of like razor sharp looking hair strands throughout her sculpt. The bangs, the side of her head, the ponytail, all contributing to the darker interpretation of the character. It's also less uniform and makes her hair look a little bit more layered, which I really do appreciate. The color is also extremely rich with very dark gradients, but the same could also be said for the entire outfit as well. The vibrant red of her outfit is often met with black paint to match the gothic vibes of the spin-off game. It's extremely noticeable near any creases or at her chest. The paint is complex and eye-catching and just shows off QQ's talents, while also showing off their growth as a company. See, Remelia's figure was extremely impressive, don't get me wrong, but this level of fidelity is just not found on her. The sculpting on this Reimu figure is similarly just as brilliant. The billowing of her jacket has an immense sense of realism, and man, those sleeves are like extra wrinkly. 2 leather belts are buckled around her waist and tiny silver clips run all throughout the collar. But for maximum edge, we need studs and chains, and oh boy does she have them in spades, not only attached to the edges of her sleeves and jacket, but also delicately hanging off as well. The other figures in this line have chains like this, and they are just as delicate as they look, so never ever touch them, or you'll be sad when they break. And I would know. Another fun aspect of this design is how instead of a Gohei wand, she wields a Gohei whip, which really gets the vampire killer vibes up and running, but also a few Afuda talismans on standby, like the Castlevania inspirations couldn't be more apparent in this design. She even ditches her sandals for boots, which are nice and glossy, might I add. Oh yeah, and I never said anything about her base, which is extremely small and has a cool chain design on it. Very sturdy too, as both feet are planted on the ground. I love this. Banpai Akira is a genius artist, and the team at QSQ did a phenomenal job here. It's absurdly well done, and it's special figures like this that really keep me motivated to continue collecting. The darker vibes won't be for everybody. Hell, this figure's likely not going to fit in with most collections unless you have the other figures in this series, but if you have even a passing interest in this figure, then I highly recommend looking into her or the other figures in this line. And now for the finale, Mikamu Neru from Blue Archive. Wouldn't you know it, Otaku Mode actually came through. It was supposed to be delayed, but what they meant by that was like 2 to 3 weeks to ship out. A whole lot of worrying for nothing, especially because I'm late on this anyway, so it's not like it really mattered. Yeah, definitely not as straightforward as Reimu, but this doesn't seem too bad. And you just like, you hang them? So Spirit Tail took it upon themselves to make a bunny figure of Neru. Meanwhile, Max Factory is making the other 4 girls from the cleaning and clearing crew. It makes you wonder if one day Max Factory will also make a bunny Neru figure. You know, if they ever continue that line, because they announced all 4 figures, but they're taking their sweet ass time with it. But Spirit Tail's composition is just so strong here that I don't know if we even need a Max Factory figure. But yeah, the assembly is actually a little peculiar on this one. She's got these 2 submachine guns, and you attach each end to the long chain that you get, and then you need to hang the chain off the stool on these 2 little bolts. And you kind of just decide like how low or high you want them to hang. It's not complicated, but it feels a little flimsy and cheap because the submachine guns are super light and the chain itself feels very brittle, so you need to be careful about that. But also they just kind of like dangle all over the place if you even think about moving the figure. And then there's also her halo and extra hair ahoge, so just be careful with this little guy as it does feel pretty fragile. Otherwise, she's already attached to the base, so that's all you really need to do. But it does make me feel like something's wrong, because this figure does wobble a pretty good amount, so I don't know if I'm missing something. It definitely feels like I am. Now, this figure is kinda massive, like relative to the scale, of course. 1/7 just seems wrong, which really throws a wrench into the whole like combiner with Max Factory's figures idea. I don't have Asuna out of the box at the moment, but I'll be sure to grab a size comparison for you guys, just because I feel like that's pretty important. From a glance though, she does feel more like a 1/6 scale. Now, while Spirit Tail excels at a lot, the one thing I'm always apprehensive about is their hair sculpts, often neglecting shading in favor for translucent plastics to simulate shifting colors and gradients, sometimes to aggressive degrees, but here it's kept under control, probably due to her shorter hair. Unfortunately, the color of her hair seems to have taken a slight hit, the red losing some of its richness from the promo photos, which is a tad disappointing and is one of my only gripes about her. Thankfully, her face picks up the slack, offering 2 excellent expressions, one that's angry and flustered, and the other a confident smirk. The intensity of her sharp eyes and the length of her eyelashes just makes her face look very pretty, and her emotions being on full display is simply charming. So which style do you go for? Well, the setup of the sculpt makes me lean towards the former, as her angry expression matches the chaotic vibe of the setting. You got poker chips, playing cards, bullets, and broken glass. They're all scattered about as her outfit's in a bit of a disheveled state, even bandaged up a bit on her knees and feet. Like the Asuna bunny figure, her bunny suit has a metallic shiny finish to it, and it creases in a realistic manner, which is how I prefer things. Also, I just really like this shade of red, and in combination with her souvenir jacket, the style is is just like ace for a bunny girl figure. The only other negative I have with this figure though is her zipper, which frankly just looked nicer before, now being painted in a mustard yellow rather than gold, which is kinda lame, but the rest of the jacket more than makes up for it. Just a sick dragon and floral design throughout, all bunched up a bit as it slips down her arms. It's really well sculpted stuff. One small detail I noticed when comparing the figure to its art is how they changed the way she's leaning against the stool, actually using her foot instead of the heel, which just looks more natural and actually makes sense like balance-wise. Besides her hair and the zipper, the paint apps and overall quality control is excellent, and the finer details are very well handled. Her guns are lined with crisp-looking gold and dragon decals, and her ears give off a nice sense of realism due to the crease lines and droopiness. The printing on her jacket is like crystal clear, and the shading of her skin is perfect. Also, I do think her legs look quite nice, and the definition of her shoulder blades as well, though I wonder if my camera's gonna pick that up. Oh, I just realized I never talked about the stool. Yeah, it's not that bad. I just don't love the color of the cushion, I guess, but it matches the art, so like, what can you do? I do appreciate how they're making it look lived in, so to speak, has some wear and it's sunken in a little bit and the like, so that's definitely good. It's just not the most attractive thing in the world. The pose is cute, you know, and the figure overall is pretty stylish. I would say it's a fun one, couple of missteps here and there, but overall a very strong release from the company. Shame that this figure is already difficult to get your hands on though, like Blue Archive is just selling out so fast and there's no signs of stopping. So if you like this Neru figure, I would suggest finding her sooner rather than later. If you could find her for around the original retail price of about 24,000 yen, then definitely jump on it, but I feel like that might be pretty difficult at this point. But yeah, I guess it's time to wrap up now. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what your favorite or least favorite figure I unboxed today was. And next week we have Mio's Figma coming out. I feel like I am obligated to make that video, so I would say expect that, but it also depends on like how fast I get it. So I'm not entirely sure what the next video is, but that's a safe bet at the very least. But until then, I'll just see you around. Later.